everyone! My name is Miss Rebecca and welcome back to StoryCraft. So it's a bit of a gloomy day behind me right now, but let's not let that dampen our spirits. As usual, we are going to be reading a book and making a craft. Today's book that we're going to be reading is called Bird Boy, written by Matthew Burgess, illustrated by Shahrzad Maydani, called Bird Boy. Let's get right into it. There we go, can you see? Nico was nervous walking the path to class alone with a backpack full of stones. That's how it felt. Nico was new, so when everyone knew what to do and where to go, he was left, well, a little lost. Poor Nico. But there were other things to do besides sports and standing in huddles whispering, such as watching the insects crossing a crack in the blacktop like climbers over a mountain pass, or sitting in the grass like a statue with the sun on your face. Until one bird hopped toward him, waiting with shining eyes and a side-curved head. One bird, then two, word had spread. And flutter, swoop, whistle, chirp, that's how Nico became known as Bird Boy. Nico knew when someone was making fun of him, and yes, it hurt his feelings. But he turned the name over in his mind a few times and smiled. It surprised him too. Bird Boy. Soon, Nico imagined himself as an eagle soaring over a forest. And a penguin diving off an iceberg into freezing aquamarine waters. He became a hummingbird hovering amid the nectar-filled flowers. A pelican with wide open wings cruising the edge of the coastline. And a great green-winged macaw piercing the dusk with her caws. Not right away, but soon Nico made one friend, then two. They were drawn to Nico's kindness. The wild flights of his imagination, and the way he could be both a bird and completely delightfully himself. Nico no longer felt nervous at recess or walking the path to class alone. In fact, sometimes he felt just a few flaps away from liftoff. The end. That was Bird Boy. And welcome to the craft portion of our video. Today we will be making some funny little birds to go with Bird Boy from our book. As you can see my example here, I made a cardinal bird, but you should feel more than welcome to make whatever kind of bird you want. And in fact, I'm gonna make a little bit different of a bird right now for this video. So all you need for this craft is some construction paper. You can choose whatever color you like. I'm going this time with blue for my bird, and as well as the yellow for the beak. You also need a pair of scissors, a toilet paper roll, some googly eyes or some sort of eyes to put on your bird. I here have my favorite little roll of eyes, as well as some glue, some tape, and of course your feathers. So here I am picking out some colors. I'm looking through and seeing what I have. I think I might just go with a nice few colors. I haven't decided yet, but I like this pink, so I'm taking a couple of pinks out. I also like this green. This is a nice green. And I'm just looking through the rest of the colors, and I'm just going to pick whatever I want. I stuck with the theme for the cardinal. Obviously, the cardinal is red, but this time I'm just going to be creative, and you should feel totally comfortable to be creative as well. And in fact, if you don't have feathers, you could use something else. So you could use some more construction paper, some colorful construction paper that you can cut out in the shape of your feathers, or you could use anything really, tissue paper, maybe even some pipe cleaners, or anything really. For example, if all you have is computer paper at home, you could color your computer paper with markers or colored pencils to make your colors and cut that out in the shape of your feathers. So it's really totally up to your imagination and your creativity. So I decided on this little pile of feathers here that I'll see what I do with them later. And my goodness, do these feathers make a lot of mess. So first step, now that I've got all of my materials set up. So you want to cover your toilet paper roll in your construction paper. So here I have my blue construction paper, and I'm really just eyeballing it. It's not that important to be super accurate. I just took a look at the width, kind of guesstimated it with my eyes, and cut a strip. And then it doesn't need to be quite this long, so I just folded it a little bit to give myself an idea of where to cut, and I cut it shorter. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my tape, and I'm going to tape it on. And honestly, tape is so much easier than glue. If you only have glue and you need to use it, what you'll probably have to do is you'll probably have to hold your construction paper down while the glue dries. So that can take a little bit of time. So to avoid having to take that much time and to deal with the mess of the glue, I'm just going to tape my construction paper on. And it's not even really going to matter whether you see the tape on the outside here, because this is where I'm going to put the feathers. So the feathers are totally going to cover it up. Perfect. I have my toilet paper roll covered in my blue construction paper. Next step, we want to make our bird's face. So here I am, I'm choosing the eyes that I want. And again, for this, you could use googly eyes, you could just draw it on, you could use even something that pops out, like a piece of foam, or whatever you really want here is what you can totally do. But I really like this roll of eyeball stickers. So once you have the eyes on, now you need your bird's beak. So I'm starting out with just a little square of my yellow paper to make it a bit easier, and I'm just going to eyeball a triangle here. And of course, keep in mind, if you need help at all with this craft, for example with using the scissors, please go ahead and ask your grown-up to help you. And so this is actually the only spot where I'm going to use some glue, because it's a little tiny bit of paper that I'm gonna paste on. So rather than using the tape, which wouldn't really work here because it's a bit too big, I'm going to use a little dab of glue to glue on the beak. And it's not going to take too long to dry either, since it's just a little tiny bit, so you don't need to hold it on. Nice. Now that you've got your beak stuck on, just like that, maybe don't touch it because it could slide around a little bit, but you shouldn't really need to touch from this point on. What you're going to do next is you are going to attach your feathers. So I'm just taking a look at this big pile of feathers that I have, and I'm just kind of organizing them the way I want. It's a little bit hard to hold on to them all. I might have gone a little too crazy with the feathers, but you know what? That's okay. I like having this big bunch of feathers for my bird, so I'm just going to deal with it. I'm going to see where I want each color, and when we're ready, we are going to actually tape it on. And so this is way easier than doing this with glue, because feathers often need a lot of glue to get it to stick down. So instead, I'm actually taping my feathers in a bundle, which is going to make it way easier to tape onto the bird as well. So there we go. I've got my little bundle of feathers, and I'm just kind of zhuzhing them up a little bit to see if I can get them going in the direction that I want them to be in. And this is going to be probably the hardest part of this craft, honestly, is just sort of zhuzhing your feathers around until you get them exactly where you want them. So now I'm just taping on the bundle of feathers. And I will zhuzh some more. And this is actually a good opportunity to play around with the feathers that you have. For example, you can see that I actually decided to add my extra green feather. And so all I had to do to add that green feather was I just kind of stuck it in the tape. And see here, I'm also moving the red feather around. I kind of wanted it to stick out a little bit. So I just took another little piece of tape and I taped it down in that direction. So feel free to play around with it. Do whatever you want. Whatever you think makes your bird look fancy or special, or however you want your birdie to look. And that's it. You have your little birdie. Thanks for joining me for today's StoryCraft, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.